Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, small law firm in central Minnesota. And yes, you may notice I am broadcasting from a completely indiscernible location that no one knows at all, that cannot be found or located or understood at any time. No, I am obviously in the studio of some friends of mine, the Steel Toe Morning Show. And this is fun times. It's part of why I'm broadcasting early tonight, because Lady Rackets and I are going to go hang out with them after the show, which is, good times, good people, and all sorts of fun. Hitting the town, as we say. But that's at looking. I have it's a completely different camera from way far away. It's not mine. My camera makes me look bad. I'm going to kick that camera's ass. But anyway, we do have a show tonight. It will not be a 3-hour show, but probably about a 2-hour show. So we're going to, us. We have a special thing, right? Chat. We're going to hit these topics. We'll check everything out. We'll get going on that, and then we'll close it out for the night, and then we'll be back full show in my own studio tomorrow, which will be fantastic. And there may be a daytime show tomorrow as well, depending on how the day unfolds, because I've got some good circumstances going, which give me some good time around doing the show during the day, which is rare. It mainly means someone's got my kids. If you could tell me where they are, I'd really appreciate it. No, my parents and my kids are hanging out with my kids, which is great. And so that's given Lady Rackets and I time off, so to speak. Last night we had an impromptu date night, which was awesome. And then tonight we're going to go out and, drink with some friends. Tomorrow, though, they're still with my parents, which is awesome. But that's during the day. So I got to find something to do. I feel like a day stream would probably be good. It's been a long time. Since I've done daytime streams, other than when there's a trial. And it's been a long time since a trial. So it'd be interesting. I'm trying to get, do some market research on how shows in other time slots and stuff work, where people show up and watch as well. I know so many people have gotten used to me streaming at 11 Central that I don't know how to work anywhere else, but you got to kind of check the waters from time to time. So we're going to do that. Let me see if there's anything else I need to think about for this week. I probably sound way different also because I'm on a different microphone. Literally, like this is a Shure SM7B, which adds a little bit of gravitas to whoever is talking. So I'll probably sound a little bit different. And also I have no idea what like fucking filters they have or any bouncing. I'm going to turn me up a little bit. That's fun. But yeah. So with that, guys, we're going to get started in just a second. We do have idiotic media takes on Trump's immunity. I've been talking about this subject a lot, but it's because it's one of the most important subjects in constitutional law that's happened in my lifetime. And that is the question of criminal immunity for the president of the United States of America. Now, if you've been following along with this, I've been talking about it. I talked with Destiny about it on his show. And I also talked with Sitch and Adam. Well, Adam didn't talk much, but Sitch did most of the talking on my show. I think like the next day or the day after that. And, or it was the next show I did. So that was Friday. I talked to Destiny, I think it was. And then Monday on my show, I talked to Sitch and Adam. And we got into similar places, although with Sitch and Adam, we got there a little bit more, I don't want to say civilly because Destiny wasn't uncivil, but with less yelling and diversions, a little more directly and succinctly, which was good because it was necessary to be direct and succinct on the topic rather than getting hyperbolic and trying to come up with these analogies and explanations for things. Like, no, you just got to slow down and let it happen, girl. Come on, Destiny. But we got there, and we got to this question in different ways on both of those shows. And it's like, well, what are the limits of presidential immunity? Like, certainly there must be a limit. And the answer to that question is another question. Why must there be a limit? Why must there be a limit to presidential immunity other than what's in the Constitution? And what's in the Constitution, as far as punishing a president for anything, is simply impeachment. Simply impeachment. Now, so you guys, this is going to happen all show. It's going to happen all show. Maybe Goody or one of the mods, if you guys could just write a comment I could pin about the, I'm in a friend's studio right now. So the background that you want me to like use a different one, like I can't. It's a physical background. There's a thing there. If I had a green screen, I would have just put a giant picture of my tits behind me, and that would have been the background. It would have had to be blown up because like I clearly like a sub A cup. What even is that? But yeah, so I can't change the background. It's physically behind me, but it might confuse people, and I don't want people confused except about their gender. So yeah, but no, if we could get some shit going on this, or some explanation from the Ahmad. Oh, here we go. There we go. Thank you, Grifty, for that pinned message. That's very, very helpful. And no one's going to read it, though. But that's the explanation. I'll probably have to give it 10, 15 times more during the stream. And yeah, that's just how it's going to be for now. But it's, it's very courteous of them to use or let me use the studio. If you don't know, the Steel Toe Morning Show, who I encountered for the first time a little bit around a year ago on Chrissy Mayer's show. It was one of the Simpcasts I was on. It was fun, and I met April from the show because she was on Simpcast, and Alex Stein was on there, and it was a pretty good Simpcast. But then after that, it was like I met them and found out they live close, sort of, to me and Lady Raggets. But it was like, oh, we should maybe like meet up sometime because we're both do this streaming thing, and then we never did, which is awesome until Chrissy invited me to do a set at her comedy live show that happened here in Minnesota. Well, just so happens that was hosted by the Steel Toe Morning Show. And so at that stand-up comedy live show, I got to meet them. And now we get to like hang out with them from time to time, which is fun. It's always cool to meet people who are like in somewhat similar situations where you're like married and you do streaming. There's not too many people around that do that you meet organically. So pretty neat. That being said, it's very courteous of them to let me use the studio because while we live close, we don't live that close. So we're going to go out and hang out with them tonight. But that means we have to there's like travel time. So it's either travel after a show and then it gets really late, or travel before the show and do the show here. So good fun. Did I change my studio? Yes, I did. And the reason I look thin is because my camera makes me look fat. This camera makes me look thin. All right. Back to this question of presidential immunity. So at Trump's appeal for criminal immunity for the president of the United States, the appellate judges asked a very important question. What if Donald Trump ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? Would he have presidential immunity in that situation? And the answer from Trump's attorney was the correct answer. He said a qualified yes. And then he explained why it was a qualified yes. And it's a good answer. It's stuff that I've been saying. It's not hard to figure this out, but people act like this is the most ludicrous thing that could be done. But the reality is he gave a very competent answer. And the answer is yeah. he should be criminally immune if he uses SEAL Team 6 to murder a presidential or a political enemy. And it's hard for people to reconcile. And we're going to talk about like how stupid the reactions have been because they can't reconcile the simple concept that in the event of assassinating a political rival using SEAL Team 6, you're already taking on an extremely absurd scenario. And you have to assume a bunch of absurd things follow that scenario. And if you follow the absurdity, you come to two conclusions. One, the scenario is too absurd and cannot possibly happen. Or two, the scenario is so absurd because the circumstances are so absurd and it still needs to occur where the president has immunity. We'll talk through those two scenarios, and then we're going to hit this article in which this publication claims that Trump may have signed his own death warrant. No, literally, though, because it's a gay publication. They have to like talk like that. But we'll do that. We'll have the two explanations. We'll hit that. And then we have another topic that's another Trump topic. His civil fraud trial in New York is now closed, and he got to speak at the closing arguments. He got 5 minutes of talk time. And we're going to see what media publications picked up from that 5 minutes and see what Trump got to say. Now, he was originally tentatively approved to speak at his own trial, give his own closing argument, which is weird because his lawyers delivered the closing arguments, but he requested a couple minutes to deliver his own closing argument. He was tentatively approved by Judge Engoron. He was tentatively approved, but then the judge withdrew approval because he told Trump what he couldn't talk about, and Trump disagreed. So he said, well, fine, if you're not going to talk about what I want you to talk about, you don't get to do it. Well, what happens next is somehow Trump gets to talk for 5 minutes, probably by agreeing to abide by the judge's rules. And then I'm sure he broke them, which will be awesome to read through. I don't see why closing arguments need to be so limited that someone cannot speak on their own behalf in closing. Now, they should be held to the rough standards that an attorney would be held to, as far as not misrepresenting legal arguments and not making new arguments, things like that, reminding people of the evidence that is in the record for the court. However, I don't see why they shouldn't get a chance to pontificate a little bit about their own case. And I think the fact that we do limit that's a mistake in terms of justice. But we do limit that. And that's important because if it's limited, there are rules for how it needs to be done. But that being said, it shouldn't be limited. So Trump gets to speak. He ends up weaseling his way into a speech, and I'm sure he goes off script right away, which is what needs to happen because this judge is a bitch, to put it politely. Camera gives me baby face. Yeah, it doesn't get all of my wrinkles and shit that my home camera does. I'm also zoomed out quite a bit, so you see like more of my sexy body or something. But anyway, let's hit these chats and then we'll go into it. Jim Satala says, Nick, say hi to Aaron and April from Jim from Florida. They will know who that is. Also great to see you, buddy. Happy New Year. Andy Dufresne is digging. Very cool, man. Jim, sometime when I'm down in Florida, we're going to meet up. It's going to be fun. But yeah, I will definitely say hi to Aaron and April for you. Dracus. Did the legislatures of all the disputed states certify the electors in 2020? I remember hearing a story that the governor did instead and wasn't constitutional. I'm not sure. I believe all of the legislatures did. There was a lot of confusing stuff going on. There was a lot of allegations being made in some of the lawsuits that was reported as news, even if it ended up ultimately not being true. So with that, I can't decidedly say that, but I do believe that all of the states did eventually certify the electors that were relied on for the count, for the final count. The alternate electors were sent in hopes that some of the electors that were official would eventually be removed. But that did not end up happening. Printer God Says that haircut belongs in the 70s sex cult documentary. Yeah, I'm time traveling man. Tony Rojas says this camera makes you look AIDSy thin. Are you looking to get a role in the remake of Philadelphia with Tom Hanks, but not as the lawyer? So a little bit about me. I'm actually down to my college weight, which for a lot of people would be very, very thin, but for me is only pretty thin. Because I'm a small framed individual. I don't know if you noticed that. I just happen to be tall, but I'm at my college weight, or the weight I graduated college, and about 10% body fat. So I'm really happy with it at the moment. I'm in pretty damn good shape. For me, I mean, not for you guys. You guys are all super chads, I know, but for me, I've been working on thinning out the extra fat, but it's been cool. Definitely not a Fed says, hey, Nick, told you a couple months ago I would super chat you once I got my dream job. Well, dude, I'm officially an airline pilot now. Your stupid podcast helped me through some tough times in 2023. That's awesome. I love how you have described my stupid podcast. I'm really glad that it could help get you through whatever you needed, man. That's kind of the goal. Like, obviously, I want to talk and do this as a job and have an income from it, but really, like, the ability to reach out and touch lives and sometimes genitalia of people is a nice benefit of it. And I love hearing about that people found some solace or comfort in a stupid idiot yelling at a TV. Slosher says premature and gay. I mean, I can't deny it, really. Cannot deny it. All right, let's get into this topic, shall we? Let's get into this topic of Donald Trump. Oh, yeah, I said how we were going to do this is I'm going to explain the two situations of absurdity related to the use of SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, and why that absurdity supports the argument for immunity in either direction. Okay, here we go. So the premise is a sitting president would use SEAL Team 6. He would order them as commander-in-chief, order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. And the question from that scenario is, does that sitting president enjoy criminal immunity for that act? Well, the answer is yes, he should enjoy immunity from that criminal act if the president is to have criminal immunity. Now, that bothers some people. But here's the thing. The scope of criminal immunity for a president is going to be one of two things if he has it. The first one would be full criminal immunity from all criminal acts. And I am leaning more and more towards that being the answer. I know it sounds weird to say that, but it gets to be really hard to discern a presidential act from a non-presidential act because there's a lot of overlap. And if you allow the argument that certain acts are acts of a president and certain acts aren't, and also consider the constitutional considerations about how a president operates sort of in this space of flexibility and purpose of representing the republic as an individual, and saying, how does he effectively do that? What acts are presidential? What aren't? I mean, anything that's in front of a camera becomes a presidential act. Now, we can conceive that there are some things that can happen that aren't presidential acts, things that happen in secret, things that happen that have nothing to do with anything involving the presidency, maybe like secret stock trading or drug deals or something. But it's even considering that it's not so simple because there might be a presidential explanation for why he's engaging in something that on the surface looks like it's not a part of the presidency. But anyway, I lean more towards full immunity. So there will either be full immunity on the criminal side, or there will be some reduced version of immunity that is limited to some level of acts as president. Now, civil immunity is built on this system, the second one, and that is that any act as president, which is done within the outer perimeter, this is the language they use, the outer perimeter of official acts as president, will be covered by civil immunity. And so anything that is purely personal and not related to acts as president he will not be immune from. But anything that could conceivably be within the realm of the president is considered to be in the realm of the president, and it is shut down immediately. That's how immunity works. Nope, you don't get to like fight the immunity. You don't get to prove it, whatever. It's like you explain why this is inside the scope of the presidency. And then once that is determined to be part of the president's job, boom, it's done. Even if it's just on the outside, like just on the outskirts of it. So criminal immunity will either be full immunity, something with like an outer perimeter, or even a more tight circle of inner perimeter official acts. But it would be one of those if something comes up. And so we go, okay, first question, is this an official act of president? Ordering SEAL Team 6 to kill a political rival, is that an official act of the president? Well, issuing an order as the commander-in-chief is undoubtedly an official act as president. Utilizing the commander-in-chief power, that's one of the most sacred and important powers of the executive, is to be commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So utilizing SEAL Team 6 to do anything would be an official act as president. So is this an official act? Yes. So do we get to immunity? If immunity exists, one of those two is definitely going to fall in there. That's what makes this question so interesting. You don't get to just say, well, no, that's ridiculous. That's not a presidential act. This is a presidential act. You're ordering the military to do something. But it's every next step that starts to get confusing. But before we do that, let me tell you what the most important presidential order is. The most important executive order is to go to fieldofgreens.com. That's right, fieldofgreens.com, and use promo code NOSE to get yourself a little bit off of your Field of Greens powder. Now, I am in a foreign location, probably infested with Somalis because of, Minnesota and all that. And so I don't know if any green powder exists in this place, but I do know at home, I've consumed lots of Field of Greens, and what it does is basically give you a serving of fruit and a serving of vegetables with every glass. Now, they have sent me a script. I'm not a fan of scripts. So what I'm going to do is read the script, but you're going to know it's a script. But before I do, let me tell you this. I'm reading the script because they asked me to. But this is not why you shouldn't listen to their sales pitch to buy the thing. You should buy Field of Greens because you want the health benefits of it. It's very convenient to have a drink for fruits and vegetables rather than coming up with, a meal or a side dish that you have to cook and consume, especially if you're very busy like me, or if you just don't eat. I mean, you could just eat powder instead. You can also put it in fun things like vodka and cranberry juice or whatever. If you're gay, you can do that. So I'm going to read the script, but don't buy it because of the script. Buy it because you want the health benefits of fruits and vegetables in your diet, and you don't want like a bunch of bullshit added to them. It's just fruits and vegetables ground up into dust and injected into whatever drink you want. So here it is. It says, resolving to eat healthier this year was easy. Actually doing it, not so easy. Better nutrition is a key to health and longevity, and a healthy diet could even help you avoid health risks that run in your family. Well, there's a question mark. I don't know why there's a question mark, but there is. Field of Greens is my healthy super fruit and vegetable habit. It's the only fruit and vegetable product that literally promises better health. And that is true. They promise better health. And listen to this promise. At your next checkup, your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back. That's right. This is the actual promise of Field of Greens, that if you have a health checkup, you start consuming Field of Greens, you take it regularly, your doctor will notice it. That's the promise that they have. And if they don't notice your health improving, then you get your money back. So the trick is to start drinking Field of Greens and then to get cancer. So your doctor's like, I really didn't notice your health improving. It looks kind of like it's not doing well. Then you get your money back. That's how you stick it to the man. Do your vitamins or green drinks promise better health? No, only Field of Greens. Each superfruit and vegetable in Field of Greens was doctor selected for a specific health benefit. Some support your heart, lungs, and kidneys. Others support metabolism for healthy energy and weight loss. Looking at you, fats. And it says others support. I don't think I should read that. Look, if you resolve to get healthier in 2024, it starts with Field of Greens. I got you. 15% off your first order and free rush shipping. Visit fieldofgreens.com and use promo code NOSE. That's promo code NOSE at fieldofgreens.com. Fieldofgreens.com. So there you go, guys. There is the script for Field of Greens. But again, look, I know they mean well. And I know that like the script is the script. And it's like, no, this is a great pitch that we have. And I agree. I fully agree with them. I just can't do that. It doesn't ever feel like right to me because I'm like, well, why would we do a script when I could just tell you that it's like good, it tastes good, it's easy and convenient, and it gives you the health benefits that you're looking for. Like that's the real thing. And I'm telling you that from experience, not because I read a script. You guys watch me drink this shit all the time. I actually do like it. All right. So here we go. Back to Lady Rackets. Got me singing 90 songs. Back to this SEAL Team 6 question. The president orders SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a rival. Is it an official act of president? Yes. So presidential immunity is on the table. And if he has it, it's fine. But they go, well, that's crazy. It's crazy that the president can order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival and get away with it. This is the thing that they keep doing. It's like, well, if he has immunity, he gets away with it. Well, no. Impeachment is the way to trump immunity. You impeach, convict on the impeachment, remove the president from office. He no longer enjoys the immunity. Then you can go ahead and criminally prosecute the president because he's been stripped of that immunity through acts that were deemed unacceptable. But let's think about it for a second, because this bothers people. They'll say, wait, impeachment is political and his party will just stick with him. First of all, the only good answer to that question is, so what? But second of all, do we actually think that a president ordering the murder of a political rival, the party's just going to close ranks and be like, oh yeah, it's just fine? Like, that's not how people work. Even if you have the power to do something like that, people don't do that. The murdering of a political rival and then the non-punishment of the president means that anybody subsequently can utilize that same power in the opposite direction. That becomes very clear very quickly, especially if you are a political rival to someone else. But this is all skipping the first step. If you order SEAL Team 6 to murder a political rival, SEAL Team 6 has to obey the order. SEAL Team 6 would have to be like, yeah, no, that's reasonable. Let's do that. But the army isn't an automaton that just runs off of a script put into it. You can order them to do something, but them actually doing it, there are processes by which they can actually challenge an order. But the reality of just assassinating a political rival, if they don't do it, it's because they don't believe in the order. If they do it, Ellie Fan says SEAL Team 6 is not the Army, Big. Yeah, it's the Navy. I got it, but it doesn't matter. He's Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Jesus Christ. But it doesn't matter. They have to do the order, or they have to not do the order. But if they do follow the order, we have to ask why. Like, what questions have been answered that justify the killing of this person? And we know that the armed forces will kill an American citizen at the command of the commander-in-chief. We know that because of Obama, who killed a piece of shit, Anwar al-Awlaki, and his son, which is probably more egregious, 2 American citizens, and they were killed with a drone strike. No due process. Wasn't a self-defense killing. And in fact, I'm not sure Anwar al-Awlaki was directly tied to any deaths. And he was an extremist, imam or some bullshit, like whatever the fucking name is. He was an extremist preacher, we'll call him, of the Muslim faith, and a radical, and they believed him a threat to America. He didn't get a chance to really answer for that. Which I don't really care about that guy. I think he's a piece of garbage. But he didn't get a chance to exercise his legal rights to answer. And Obama wasn't prosecuted for that. I mean, he flat out killed an American citizen with an order. But there's a reason they followed the order. When I was in my national security law class, one of the things the professor took a lot of time to do was to explain that due process does not mean necessarily a criminal court with a jury and a conviction. That's not what processes do. Due process is just whatever processes do. If you're in the armed forces, your due process is a uniform code of military justice. You do not have access to civilian courts, and your defenses are far, far different. And the offenses you can be charged for are often, something less than what we would normally think of as criminal activity. It's unacceptable activity for the armed forces. And so your court martial goes before a UCMJ tribunal. And that is considered the justice or the due process, or the process that is due in that scenario. Someone who pulls out a gun and points it at a cop, and the cop pulls out his gun and shoots him and kills them, they received the process they were due in that situation. So Obama made the order on al-Awlaki. There was some analysis and review of the order done, and people determined that he had received his due process, and a missile was coming and killed him. Killed his, I think, 16-year-old son as well. Both American citizens, which is what makes this important. But that happened, and Obama was not prosecuted, and it was determined that the process that was followed was what was due to this guy. He's a foreign combatant sympathizer. He's in Yemen. He's not here. He's reportedly by intelligence organizing attacks against America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But he doesn't get to answer for it. So SEAL Team 6 making the decision to actually assassinate a political rival of the president would necessarily be presented with such compelling evidence that they would decide to follow an order that was almost certainly an illegal order. So to get through to this outcome of this happening, you have to either determine that SEAL Team 6 doesn't do it because they're not just order followers, or you determine that they do it, and you have to wonder why they believe that was justified. And the logical answer would be they'd be presented with evidence sufficient to say that that person was a threat to national security, which required removal, or an immediate threat to someone, and required a self-defensing or something like that. You have to come to those conclusions. Of course, there is the possibility that they just did it because they were going to do it. Like they were told to do it, so they did it. That's not actually how things usually work in practicality in high levels with sensitive subjects like this. But alas, it's possible, right? But the idea here is that they either don't do it because it's ridiculous, or they do it because the ridiculousness of the evidence justifies it. And so then we get to the question, can a president do that and get immunity? We say yes, of course. Of course. Now let's say it is that third one. And they go, yeah, we're just going to do it. They kill the political rival. Impeachment is still the answer. And then to go beyond that, you have to say, well, they could just kill all of Congress then and jail all of Congress. At some point, SEAL Team 6 has either too many body bags, too full of a jail, or they stop listening to the president because the orders get progressively more insane. One of these things has to happen because that's how the real world works when we go beyond a thought exercise. But with that, we get back to the ultimate premise. Should a president enjoy immunity for these acts? Yes. Well, how do we hold him accountable? Impeachment. And then you can try him if you're successful on impeachment. But if you're not successful on impeachment, how can we say he did something wrong sufficient to remove him from office and stop him from holding office in the future? Or even just criminally charge him for an act as a president? Give me just a moment. Sorry about that. All right. So, with that explanation there, that little exploration as well of how this like SEAL Team 6 thing would have to play out, we are going to read this article. It's from a gay website, which will make it even stupider, about how crazy this has made people when they see it. And I had a very short back and forth because I've been trying to stay off of Twitter generally while I have some like spare time. But Pisco, who's a lawyer who has been on a lot of Destiny streams, he and I had a little back and forth about this because, I mean, he heard me make this argument. And when people heard me make the argument that, yeah, the president should have immunity from killing someone, they get really like huffy and they're like, oh, that's crazy. And then so Trump's lawyers making that same argument, they go, oh, wait, this isn't just a Nick Rekieta thing. And he actually put in his tweet that Trump's lawyers bit the Nick Rekieta pill, which I'm very flattered, but I don't think I came up with the argument for them. I think what likely happened is it's the reasonable argument from the president's perspective. And if you can't see that, then you shouldn't be arguing much of anything at all. But I digress. We'll get that. There's a couple chats and then we'll go. Isaac Baruch's Wholesome Gabagool Art says, I await the next Who Are These Podcasts cringe of the week. Okay. Joshua Unseth says, if anyone can run for president, then Obama has already killed his potential political rival and was not impeached for it because political circumstances made it acceptable. By the way, Anwar was born in New Mexico, so he could have been the president. I'm unaware of whether the president perceives a person as their rival makes this analysis any different. It doesn't make the analysis different. It makes the emotional tug different. That's what he wants. That's what they want. They want the emotional connection. Someone says, just turned into Joe. Good logic. And Pisco is on again. Man, Joe is giving Pisco the business lately. All right, here we go. So here is this. This is Into, which is a very gay website. Oh boy, Trump might have just signed his own death warrant, literally, by Henry Giardina. Okay. I don't know what this person looks like. In fact, I'm going to stop trying to figure it out. They have a column called Twink Talk. That's what you need to know. So here we go. Here's Trump looking very exasperated, apparently. So things aren't looking good for Donald Trump, for the failing Donald Trump, as he continues to lock horns with the justice system, as if that matters at all. As if ballot exclusions in Maine and Colorado weren't enough. Trump is also facing a civil fraud trial in New York, but none of this is deterring the Trump team. In fact, they're trying to turn it to their advantage. Well, yes. And I hate saying if you haven't figured it out, but yeah, the Trump team is certainly trying to use it to their advantage. What they want to do is utilize all this publicity to make Trump to get Trump's message out for free leading up to a presidential election. This isn't even complicated, but that's what they want to do with this. That's why they're doing this, why the timelines are the way they are. That's why they've been, kind of, how do I word this? Delaying some of the motions they've been making in some of these cases. They're using it as stump speeches for the upcoming election. All right. Trump's lead lawyer, John Sauer, made a truly unhinged argument at yesterday's hearing, and the implications of it are pretty insane. Wait, I want to see John Sauer as I want to see his experience as an attorney. Good if fuck a wee. John Sauer, American lawyer. Okay, so let's previously served as the Solicitor General of Missouri and Deputy Attorney General for Special Litigation in the U.S. state of Missouri. Holy shit. So I wonder when he graduated. Let's see, education, legal career. He was a law clerk to J. Michael Ludig, of the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals and to Antonin Scalia of the Supreme Court of the United States. Litigation associated Cooper and Kirk became an assistant United States attorney for the Eastern District of Missouri, later re-entered private practice. Missouri Attorney General Josh Hawley appointed Sauer Solicitor General. So like this guy's not a schlub, right? Like this is a very experienced lawyer. He's not just a random wacko on YouTube like me, right? Like him making these arguments is not like because he's a nut job who doesn't know what he's talking about. One of the judges asked Sauer whether a president who wasn't impeached and ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival would be the subject to a criminal prosecution. Sauer's answer was surprising, but not unexpected for a Trump lawyer. Well, no, it's for any lawyer who has to argue this case. This is the argument, and it's basically the only answer you can give. Here we go. Quote, if he were impeached and convicted first, he replied, there's a political process that would have to occur. And that's true. It's in the Constitution. But it bothers people that it's in the Constitution because that means this very uncomfortable scenario can happen. So now I know what you're thinking. What? Is that true? Well, if the Trump trials have taught us anything, it's that there are loopholes upon loopholes upon loopholes that thoroughly unscrupulous individuals can use to their advantage when it comes to the legal system. This isn't a loophole. And the unique character of the presidential office, let's be very clear on this. This is not a loophole. They do this with taxes too. It's like, well, it's a tax loophole. No, it's not a loophole. It's just the way. It's just the law. If Trump has immunity, then yes, he would enjoy immunity in this scenario. It's a quintessential presidential act. If that happens to be the case, the Supreme Court finds that the president has criminal immunity in the similar way they have civil immunity, then yes. And it's not a loophole in the law. It is the law. So yes, this could come to pass. But Sauer's argument that a former president, even an impeached one, can and should have immunity veers dangerously close to Trump's own belief that he could shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue and get away with it. No, Trump's belief that he could shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue was based on his popularity while running for the presidency, not while being president, if I remember right. But here's the other thing, though. An impeached president is just the president until he's convicted on impeachment. If he's not convicted on impeachment, then he's not, then it doesn't matter that he was impeached. Trump being impeached twice doesn't mean anything. They couldn't secure the conviction. Now they'll narrative this all day. Oh, well, he's the only president impeached twice. So what? You can impeach a president 5,000 times if you really want to. As probably coming at some point as this kind of keeps developing and this back and forth goes. But just because you impeach them doesn't mean anything. You can be charged with 7,000 crimes and never be convicted. You're not a criminal. But his argument that even an impeached president, no, not a convicted upon impeachment president, Cannon should have immunity, veers dangerously close. Yes, Cannon should have immunity is correct. This line of argument also sets up a dangerous, if potentially hilarious precedent. Now, remember that descriptor, right? Dangerous, but potentially hilarious. What do they think is potentially hilarious about this? Because what's true for Trump could also be true for Biden. No, not could also. It would necessarily be true for both of them, you idiot. Colonel Dr. Diamond Bill wrote, Joe Biden has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. And he has a headline here. U.S. president could have a rival assassinated and not be criminally prosecuted, Trump's lawyer argues. So there you go. This guy thinks the funniest thing Joe Biden could do would be to kill Trump, to have Trump assassinated. That is the thought process behind this tweet and behind what this website. Here's the thing, though, guys. You can't just murder a political candidate. They're very popular people. They'll notice that it happens. You kill a Seth Rich or two and nobody gives a shit, really. You start killing political, especially presidential candidates that are the top rivals to the sitting president. People are going to notice. They're not going to like it very much. They're not going to like that. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't be the wackiest thing that's happened in our great democracy. Anthony Emerson, Joe Biden should just tweet this headline with, and it would become the most liked tweet in the history of the platform. Julian Positron says, I know they won't, but it'd be really funny if they both did this. Like something out of Spy versus Spy, but they both eat shit. Okay, so she wants Joe Biden and Trump to kill each other, I guess. But Trump's not president, so he wouldn't have immunity. RE says, for the record, I do not encourage or condone this, but also, Michael Batista, liking and retweeting this while shaking my head and going tisk, tisk, tisk for the FBI agent in my laptop webcam. It's basically a wrestling match at this point. Westing says, welcome to the Thunderdome. Grab your popcorn and a strap on. It's going to be a bumpy election season. I fucking hate. Oh. Why are the gays like this? Gays, you have every advantage in the world. Don't be like that. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So here we go, though. I mean, the premise is that Trump has literally signed his own death warrant because now Joe Biden could kill him. If Joe Biden killed Donald Trump with SEAL Team 6, Joe Biden would be impeached tomorrow. Even the Democrats wouldn't stand by the murdering of a political rival. They wouldn't do that because they're political rivals of somebody at some point. And even rallying around your party won't be enough. And they know that. I mean, some of them are going to support him, but overwhelmingly, impeachment would come and be swift. Now, one of the counter arguments that keeps getting brought up as people talk about this as well, he could just resign and be immune from impeachment forever. And my question is why? Why is that? I'm being optimistic. Am I sure? Am I sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know it's funny to say no. The Democrats are definitely going to do this and then they just close ranks, but I really don't think so. But hey, we'll find out when they do it. But people keep saying, well, if he just resigns, well, then you go, okay, well, that's another absurd abstraction because not only do they have to kill a political rival, but then they have to resign so they don't get the benefit of it. And then they're immune forever because they resigned instead of being impeached and convicted. But why does the impeachment of a president have to happen while the president is in office? There's no rule about this. It just says that the House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment and that the Senate will have the sole power to try an impeachment. So the House of Representatives can impeach anybody, including you. They could impeach you. They could impeach me. Now you might be like, well, I didn't have an office. I didn't do anything. Like, what are they impeaching me for? It doesn't matter. They have the sole power of impeachment. It's unquestionable. The judiciary can't define it. The Senate can't stop the House from impeaching someone. The Senate has a check on it because the Senate gets to actually have the trial. But the power to impeach is reserved exclusively to the House of Representatives. So why can't you impeach a non-sitting president, a former president? Why can't you do that? And the answer is because. The answer is because we just don't think you can. You go, well, where does it say that? It doesn't say that. And there is an impeachment outcome that follows being out of office, which is you can impeach them for the purposes of trying to find that they are no longer qualified to hold any office of trust under the United States. So that means that even if a sitting president were to commit some heinous act and then resign, that he could not only be impeached after resigning and leaving office, but he could be impeached, found guilty, and prevented from holding an office of trust in the United States for the rest of his life, which similarly implies that removal of the presidential status and the removal of the ability to hold that office or any other office going forward implies that impeachment is not mooted simply by being out of office. And it further, I guess, how do we word this? It establishes a reason to impeach for these criminal acts, which would then subsequently also allow for criminal prosecution. And hell, the subsequent criminal prosecution may be sufficient grounds to impeach in general. That might be enough for people to do it. But this is the argument that they've been having. They think it's the most crazy thing in the world. And I'm like, this isn't crazy. It's the only way to argue this. It's the only way this can go. If it goes any other way, we got real problems. Because how do you navigate this? Who determines what a presidential act is? What is the scope? And if the president enjoys no immunity from anyone, if the president enjoys no immunity, then any prosecutor in any county in the country could kneecap or handcuff the president of the United States during their criminal trial and get tons of access to all sorts of, documents or thoughts, or maybe, just interviews, depositions of the president, cross-examination, all of that stuff suddenly is on the table. Finding a basic level of immunity, whatever it is, for the president is kind of an imperative and almost a foregone conclusion of the court. I mean, I know they may not do it. They may not actually find immunity, but if they don't, they're going to have a real fucking good explanation as to why. With that, guys, we are actually going to do the Rumble flip now. The show is going to be a little shorter today, but we're going to flip over to Rumble, take a quick break, be right back, and then we will continue the show with the next Trump topic, which is him speaking at his New York fraud trial. And we will possibly get into a couple other news stories I have, and then we'll close out the show. But please consider following us over to Rumble for the remainder of the show. I know if you're watching on YouTube, you may not have tried watching on Rumble in a while. Give it a shot. Their app and their website are improving with frequency. Features are being added, and the smoothness of the platform is just getting better and better and better. With that, we're going to pop over there. Let me just make sure there's no chats that I missed. Oh, wait, there are a couple chats that I missed that we'll get to first, and then we will go straight through it. Weaponized Autism says, have you been kidnapped? Why aren't you in your gun safe? Again, Lady Raggets and I are going out with some friends. I'm broadcasting from their studio, so we can do that efficiently, and super courteous of them to do that. If you want, check out the Steel Toe Morning Show. You can find them on YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Twitter, everywhere. They are a morning show, though, really fucking early, like 6 a.m. Central. Ted Goddamn Cruz says Congress is the highest federal authority. If they decide that an act isn't impeachable, then by definition, it shouldn't be a criminal offense. Pretty good argument. Joshua Unsteth says, I heart giving you my money, Nick. Thank you. I'm baffled by how stupid obvious this is. A president is king for 4 years. He must first be dethroned before his subjects can judge him. I agree. People don't like looking at it that way, but it's a very, very reasonable way to look at what a president is. Now, with that, we are popping over to Rumble. Again, a short bathroom break after that, and then we'll be back to the show. See you in just a minute. Peace. Link is in the description on YouTube. Follow it over there.